Tim, thanks for chatting with Total Rugby. Here we are in Murrayfield, one of the game's great arenas, a long way from Flevoland.
It is. It's a long way from where I've started, I guess, and the journey has been brilliant going through the English public school system into the Newcastle Falcons Academy, spending sort of 2-3 years there in the first team, and then finding myself up in Scotland, which was the big unknown for me. But I came up here, met the coaches, and saw the facilities and what they were trying to do. And Edinburgh being a successful club, I really wanted to join it, and I've never really looked back since.
You've been in Edinburgh for 3 years now. Is it home, and do you feel fully immersed in the Scottish culture?
Yeah, no, I do. I think I wouldn't have wanted to play for Scotland not feeling at home here and not feeling an emotional connection with the country and the people. And I think from the moment we moved here, me and my wife Laura felt really at home. The Scottish people are brilliant and not too dissimilar to the Dutch, actually, quite sober people who've got a real sort of positive outlook on life. And I guess you'd have to with some of the weather we get up here. But coming in contact with people from the borders a lot is brilliant. Our captain Greg Laidlaw's from there, and they're a different breed to the people up in Edinburgh, which is brilliant. Really sort of straight talking, and that takes a little bit to get used to, but it's brilliant. And to be completely honest, when Ross Ford and Greg Laidlaw talk to each other, sometimes I think that does actually sound like Dutch. If those two talk together, then there's no knowing what they're on about.
And if we can go back to sort of growing up in the Netherlands, tell us a little bit about growing up there. Did you always play rugby?
No, I didn't. Played a bit of everything, to be honest. I think in Holland there's a lot of football, of course. Football's the number one sport, so you can't sort of get around that, especially PE at school. There's a lot of football, handball, basketball, baseball, or a lot of ball sports, to be honest, which is good for the coordination. And I was always going to play rugby eventually, I think, but with it not being in our local village where I grew up, I had to start with a few other sports and then got into rugby when I was sort of 8. But growing up around the rugby club where my dad always played, and all our friends and social circles being there, I was always going to end up at some point playing rugby. It was just when, and I got into it when I was about 8-9, so never really wanted to change.
What was the profile of the game like when you were growing up?
Very amateuristic, of course, as it is still now. It's very much a family sport in Holland. You can see dads, and then you can see the next generation of sons all playing together. It's really good. It's quite a tight-knit, friendly atmosphere, and everyone seems to sort of know each other, even sort of from other clubs and other regions as well, because Holland is such a small place.
How much exposure, how much international rugby were you able to see? Were you able to see the likes of the Six Nations or Super Rugby?
Well, we get the BBC in Holland, so during Six Nations time we'd always see the Six Nations, which was brilliant. Seeing England, Scotland, Wales all fight it out was special times, and it's a distant world away for Dutch rugby as well, because there is no professionalism, and even now people in Holland don't grasp the concept of professional rugby, and a lot of questions you get are, so what kind of work do you do next to it and stuff like that, and they don't understand that it is fully professional and has been for years out here. So it is a completely different world, and as a little boy I sometimes get asked, have you always dreamed of being a professional rugby player? But I've not, because we didn't really know it existed, and I only started to grasp the concept when I went over to for my trial at Newcastle, and saw players like Johnny Wilkinson and Jamie Noon, etc., being there and being full-time rugby players. And I then obviously asked the question, what do they do? Are they do they do this as a job? And they're like, yeah, this is their job. And then only then a whole new world opens for you, and suddenly you think, wow, I could maybe be a professional rugby player one day. That'd be incredible. And then to get the chance from where I've started has been an incredible journey.
How much of an influence has your father been on your rugby career? Because he represented the Netherlands for 15 years?
Yeah, he played, he captained I think for 10 years. He's got sort of 67 caps, and he never stops talking about it. But no, he has been the biggest influence, obviously, because he got me to play the sport initially, and he brought me into the atmosphere and the whole world of rugby in Holland. Without him I would have never started, and he was obviously the sort of player I looked up to back in the day when I used to go and watch play for Holland and our local club Hilversum, and I would have never been in contact with rugby without him.
So he was a proud man when you got the call up for Scotland against Fiji?
Yeah, no, he was. I get a lot of questions about that, of course, because he's represented Holland in a proud way, and some people ask, oh, what does he think of you playing for a different nation? But he's massively supportive. He understands that this is a completely different level, and being able to play against teams like Fiji and now coming up maybe the All Blacks in the Autumn Internationals, he understands the importance of that, and me trying to reach my potential at this level.
And now you mark your debut in some style with 2 tries. What can you remember of the game?
I can just remember it was really hot there. Fijian winter is still sort of 35 degrees, I think, at the time, and it's a real dry heat, so it's tough to sort of play in. And I can just remember at the time thinking, I just want the game to start. I just want to get my first cap. I just want that first whistle to go. And then as it went, I went, all right, I'm in. This is my first cap, which was brilliant to finally get to that moment after spending 3 years in Edinburgh, and sort of the high expectations from the fans and the supporters and the media, to sort of finally realise that, and being able to get my first cap was a really special moment for me.
Your first 2 caps have been away from home, so this autumn you could be coming out onto the pitch here at Murrayfield. What will that mean to you?
Yeah, no, that's incredible. That's what the big dream has been since I knew I might be in contention for Scotland, and to be able to play here in front of 65,000 people would be literally a dream come true. I think having been in the last 3 years and sitting here during the Six Nations and the Autumn Internationals, watching some of my teammates put on the blue jersey and play in front of a crowd like that is incredible. And I can only hope that I make it to the All Blacks game, and then it would be amazing.
And what of the future? In a few months' time, we've got the Six Nations, which you were watching as a child, and now sort of 20 odd years on, you could actually be involved in it.
Yeah, no, that is an incredible story in itself. I think being miles away from here back then, and watching because my dad was watching Six Nations on TV, and now being able to possibly represent Scotland for at here Murrayfield and some of the incredible stadia around Europe would be a dream come true. And as I say that, it would be a dream come true because I have now lived towards this moment, but you couldn't have ever imagined it back in the day.